Welcome to the Fantasy Beer League, where you get half-decent advice from half-decent guys. I'm your host, Shawn Joyce. With me for this week is the entire league. So we're going to introduce you to everybody. We're going to see what they did with their draft, what the different strategies were, and how the teams are shaping up ahead of week one. First pick in the draft, first draft slot, our producer, Vince the frickin' Hexagon.
What's up?
So, Vince, with your first pick, you went with Christian McCaffrey. And was there ever any doubt in your mind with who you were going to go with?
Actually, yeah. I was going back and forth between him and Cook for a while. I had Cook in the last two seasons, and he was really a workhorse for me.
Yeah.
But seeing the production that McCaffrey had, that just in the couple games he played last season, it's undeniable. You got to pick him.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. I think that's a great pick. And spoiler alert, I had the second pick, so I was going to take whichever of those two players you didn't take and feel great about it. In the second round, you were able to get DeAndre Hopkins, which I think is excellent value, back into the second round. And then you went with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Do you feel like he's going to have a big jump going into his second season, or was he just kind of the best running back available when you took that pick?
When I was looking at him, I liked him because I think overall Kansas City has a very prolific offense, so I feel like he'll have a good chance to have a good amount of carries and even catch a few balls. So I think he's going to be a decent running back.
Yeah. Speaking of Kansas City, you went with Patrick Mahomes in the fifth round. He was the first quarterback off the board. Right before that pick, you took Chris Godwin, and I thought it was a little interesting that you liked Chris Godwin more than Mike Evans. Most draft analysis I've seen has Evans ahead of Godwin. What makes you feel like Godwin is going to have a better season than a guy like Mike Evans?
I don't know if he's going to have a better season, but my strategy going into the season is the same I had last year. It was just try and keep myself out of the bottom four. So I feel like he could be a guy that can at least produce efficiently every week.
So you went for a higher floor as opposed to a higher ceiling.
Right.
Okay, I understand. That's a good strategy. And that makes sense for your next pick, Cooper Kupp, another good floor guy, slot receiver. Brandon Ayuk, I think, is a great pick with tremendous upside. Then you went with T.J. Hawkinson as your tight end, which I like. Kareem Hunt, Corey Davis, DJ Chark. And then you took your handcuff in Darrell Williams in the 12th round. I think that's a great strategy, especially with a guy like CEH who we saw struggle last year.
Right.
If for any reason things don't work out with him, at least you have another Kansas City running back. And then you finished your draft strong, and I see in round 15 you took your favorite player. You want to tell the folks at home who that might be?
Absolutely. Younghoe Koo is the boy. He's the man.
The Koo is strong with this one. All right, Vince. Good draft. Good luck to you, my friend. Next, we're going to have myself on the podcast. All right, so with the second pick in the draft, I went with Dalvin Cook. I just talked about how I had pretty even grades on him and McCaffrey. McCaffrey was my preference, but I have no problem having Dalvin Cook. Clear workhorse back. Love having him. He's a great pass catcher, and the volume is just tremendous. In the second round, I went with Najee Harris. I was very happy to get him. I actually rank him higher than most of the running backs that went before him. In my latest ranks, I have him as the fifth running back after McCaffrey, Cook, Henry, and Kamara. He's a true three-down back. There aren't very many of those. I look at guys like Gibson, Barkley, who's a little injury-prone, Chubb, Jones, Eckler, Zeke. There's a bit of a question mark with all those guys in my mind. Najee Harris is a rookie, which is the only real ding on him, but I know he's going to get the ball first through third down, and I love the value getting him in the back end of the second round. I got Stephon Diggs in the third round, which I honestly think is a little ridiculous. I feel like he is a clear top 3 wide receiver, maybe top 4. If you like Hopkins more, I could see that. But I think he's an elite tier of wide receivers. I took George Kittle in the fourth round. I love the value there. And then I went with CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson, and Dak Prescott. I was hoping to get Josh Allen, but Senny took him before I had the opportunity to. So instead of having a Diggs and Allen stack, I went with the Prescott-Lamb stack, which I feel pretty good about. Then I went with Courtland Sutton. I got a couple sleepers I like in Javonte Williams and Trey Sermon. I think both those guys have the opportunity to be excellent running backs later into the year. And then I went with my boy Harrison Buttkicker in the 14th round. Took him a little early, and then instead of handcuffing Dalvin Cook with Alexander Mattison, I went a slightly different approach and took Tony Pollard instead because I just have a feeling deep down in my plums that he has more value this year specifically. In the third slot, the forehead himself, Andrew Daniels. All right, Andy. So with your first pick, you went with Derrick Henry. Do you feel that his massive volume and rushing upside outweighs his lack of PPR volume?
Yes.
Good analysis. You then went with Antonio Gibson, and I like that pick a lot. I think he has the opportunity to be one of the top 10 running backs this season, especially if he can get more third down usage. Do you have any concerns about his PPR usage?
No.
All right. Next, you took Justin Jefferson, Robert Woods, and Amari Cooper, a string of wide receivers. Do you feel good as those three being your top 3 wide receivers on this team?
Yes.
Okay. You then went with Myles Gaskin. That one was a little puzzling to me, honestly. So do you have feelings that, the other running backs in Miami, maybe Tua's emergence, you don't think that's going to hamper Gaskin's value at all?
No, I don't.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay.
Then you took Lamar Jackson. He had a bit of regression last year, but getting him in the 7th round I think is tremendous value. You took your tight end in the 9th round in Logan Thomas. That's another player that I like. Michael Carter was one that you took that I really did not want you to, because he was a guy I was looking to take around that round, maybe a bit later. And I love the A.J. Dillon pick. I love the Henry Ruggs pick. I think both of those guys have the ability to break out, and to get them in the 13th and 14th round, the value is just undeniable. And then you got Justin Tucker, who some may say is the best kicker in the league. Do you think he's going to lead the league in scoring this year?
Yes.
All right, Andy. Thank you so much for your insight and analysis. Next up, we have Mr. Matt Senni, the resident fantasy football expert. All right, Senni. So you took a very interesting approach to the first round here. You went with Travis Kelsey at 4, ahead of guys like Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, Devonte Adams, and Zeke. How confident do you feel in that pick?
Pretty good, honestly. I put a lot of stake in my starters, and I'd honestly rather have the best tight end than, the 4th running back or something like that.
I agree with your analysis there. I think Travis Kelsey, I said it on the podcast, is money in the bank. Every year he leads the league in scoring for tight ends, and the drop-off in talent from him to the next group of tight ends is tremendous. So I really like that pick. I really like the value in the 2nd round that you got with Saquon Barkley. He's got some injury concerns, but the upside there is just super tremendous. And then to get DK Metcalf in the 3rd round, I think, is another great pick. He's a fringe top 5 wide receiver. You went with Joe Mixon in the 4th round. What are your feelings about that pick?
I really just wasn't sure who else I wanted running back-wise. I knew with my first 3 picks that, I wasn't really going to be in love with any running back that I took from there. Mm-hmm. So I kind of looked around at some of the names that were left, and there were guys who was like, I'm not really sure if I think he's that great. And then with Mixon, I knew that he was like a big name that people weren't sure if he was going to be good or not. I figured I would just take a chance on him, honestly.
Yeah, I get that. And then your next string of picks there, Allen Robinson, I think, was great. Josh Allen, I think, is a great quarterback. 3rd off the board. I have him ranked 2nd personally, but I love the talent. The rushing ability is awesome in this league, scoring. Then you went with Gus Edwards, which I thought was an interesting pick. What was your logic with that one?
Again, I was at this point where, I knew that I was going to get some good receivers. I knew that I was, I knew I'd take a quarterback earlier than other people. So, I at this point, I knew that running back-wise, I either wasn't going to get top guys or wasn't going to get guys that I knew very well. Mm-hmm. This was a name that I knew. I really don't like picking guys from this team.
Yeah,
I try to avoid them as much as possible. But it was a bigger name that I knew was left, so I just said, fuck it, honestly.
Yep. In the 8th round, you took Chase Claypool. I'm sure you don't want to taltalk about that.
It was just a personal pick.
Will Fuller V. He's your 4th receiver, so I think it's okay. He's going to be the first guy on your bench. When he's healthy, I think he's pretty good. We'll see how he does with Tua. The injury concerns make me a bit weary about that one. Then you took Tampa Bay's defense in the 10th round, first defense off the board. Tyler Boyd, I think you got tremendous value for him in the 11th round. Then you went with Sony Michel, Kenyon Drake, Michael Gallup, and your boy Matt Gay, all of which I think are fine picks. A couple of those guys I'm a little bit more nervous about than you would be. But Matt Gay, I think, great guy, great pick. Very, very lovely, beautiful pick that you got there. And in the 16th round, why don't you tell the folks at home who you went with and why?
So just in case Kelsey didn't work out, I thought, all right, well, if the first best tight end doesn't work out, I'll take the 2nd best tight end. So I obviously took Tim Tebow because I know that, if I have him, I have God on my side, and I'll end up having to do way less punishments.
Exactly. Well, you got the Lord on your side, Senni.
Yes, I do.
Good draft, my friend. Good luck to you. Next up, we're going to talk to Danny. With your first pick, you took Alvin Kamara. He went after McCaffrey, Cook, and Henry. Did you feel the value was good there? Did you feel like you might not have gotten him in that slot, that Kelsey might have went a little early?
Yeah, so I was actually kind of nervous because like the guys I really wanted there were either Henry, Kamara, or Adams, and Adams was only going to be there if the other two running backs were off the board first. So like I'm glad that Kelsey went at 4 because it left that spot for me.
Made your life easier. All right, so the next question I have, your second pick, you took Ridley, who went before the likes of Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins, which I thought was a little interesting. Why are you so high on Ridley this season?
So looking at last season, Ridley had some of his best games when Julio was down, actually. And I also think the addition of Kyle Pitts is going to mix things up in that offense. They're going to be looking for mismatches with Kyle Pitts. They're going to have to move guys on top of him that normally wouldn't be on a tight end, and I think that opens up a lot of space for Ridley.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Ridley. I definitely see him as a top 5 guy, so I think that's a great pick, especially because, those other wide receivers I mentioned, we're not going to get back to you for your third-round pick, which you went with Jonathan Taylor, which I think is great. Great value, third-round pick, top 10 running back easily. Then A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, another 2 good wide receivers. You waited until the 7th round to take a quarterback with Aaron Rodgers, which I like. Good value there. Your flex play would currently be DeAndre Swift or Kenny Golladay. Both guys I'm a little bit nervous about for, volume reasons. Swift because I can kind of expect the Lions to be down a lot, and Golladay because I don't know how many targets he's going to get. But you also have good flex options there, and Raheem Mostert, at least for the start of the season, I think he'll dominate the touches in that backfield. And Jerry Jeudy I could see breaking out as well. So overall, I think you had a very good draft. Everybody else went with a tight end a little early, so you waited until the back end of the draft to take Robert Tonyan, which I have no problem with. And then the Ravens defense, I love their week 1 matchup. I think that's part of the reason why you went with them.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then, kicker in the last round. Last 2 picks are always the way to do that. So all in all, I think you had a pretty solid draft, Danny, and I wish you luck, but not as much luck to be better than me.
I appreciate it, man. I think it's going to be a lot of fun once again.
Well, good luck, my man. Next up, we're going to talk to Guillermo del Toro himself. All right, with me now is Guillermo del Toro.
Yes.
With your first pick, you went with Austin Eckler. You said on the podcast that you had him as a top 5 running back, and you stayed true to your word, so I give you credit for that. What makes you so bullish on Austin Eckler this season?
I just think the value that he offers both in the run and then passing, or pass catching game. I mean, if he stays healthy, I'm sticking true to that. Top 5, and I really like him. And with Zeke, the year that he's coming off of last year, wasn't super high on him. Didn't feel like taking him. I was hoping Kamara would fall 1 because I was comfortable taking him. And then Najee Harris, I wanted him, but I think 5 was, or the 5th overall running back was a little too early for me personally. You mentioned the only ding is him being a rookie, which I'd agree with. I think my ding is a little bit bigger than yours, but
Baby. Whoa, calm down.
No, where you got him is a great pick, but I'm comfortable where I got Eckler and taking him there.
All right, we'll see how that works out. Nick Chubb in the 2nd round, I think, is a pretty standard pick.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised that you went with him over a guy like Saquon. But my only concern about Chubb is that he doesn't catch many passes, and Kareem Hunt is still there. Do you feel like that volume shift is going to change this year, or is it going to remain the same, and you just feel like Chubb's talent and value is going to be strictly with rushing and touchdown scoring?
Yeah, I mean, the rushing, I think that, and the talent with, like when they get into the red zone, I think that's going to be there. I mentioned during the draft that I was planning to handcuff him with Kareem Hunt, but he went the round before I was looking to take him.
Right,
so,
yeah.
That kind of stinks, but part of the game.
Yeah, and then you got James Robinson with your 3rd pick, which I like the pick. I like the value getting there. I think it's interesting you went with 3 straight running backs in a PPR league.
Yeah.
But last year you got scorned by injury, so at least you have some insurance, some high-end insurance in the event that it doesn't work out. Darren Waller the baller in the 4th round, I think is tremendous value. I got Kittle in the 4th round. I was happy with either of those guys in that round. Then you went with DJ Moore, which with Sam Darnold I think could be as good, if not better, than he was last year. You went with Kyler Murray as the 2nd quarterback off the board. Why are you so high on Murray this season?
I like what he offers in the rushing game. Complete transparency, when I picked up the draft card, I had my finger on Josh Allen, and I was like, something's telling me to go with Murray.
Okay.
So I went with Murray. I also had Josh Allen ranked 2nd. I would have been happy with either of them.
Yeah, I mean, I would have too, so I could see it either way. Then you went with a string of receivers. You went with Higgins, Cooks, Samuel.
Yep.
You just need a couple of those guys to work out on a weekly basis. All of them are a little bit of a risky play, but all offer great upside. And then you went with Ronald Jones, 2 in the in the 10th round. Sorry. And then you also took Uncle Lenny Fournette in the 13th round. Did you do that to pair them both together in case one of them emerges as a clear starter?
I did.
Okay.
Towards the latter end of the draft, my goal was either to pair players together or handcuff. So later, I took Fournette and then I took Justin Jackson to kind of pair together with Eckler in the event that he does get injured. I know Jackson's a little banged up now, so I'm hoping that passes. But that was kind of my my plan going into the latter rounds.
Gotcha. Yep. So you handcuffed Justin Jackson with Austin Eckler.
Yep.
And then your couple sleepers there at the end. Mike Williams, I booed you when you did that one because I'm tired of his ass.
I am too, but 11th round, if I waste a pick on him, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
get
too-
it. I
too
get
beat
it.
up about it.
And the Darnell Mooney pick, I'm a big fan of in
Yeah.
the 12th round. I really love his talent. If the quarterback play can be what we think it will be, especially when Justin Fields takes over.
Yeah.
Big fan of that pick. You got your personal favorite defense and the Steelers. And who's your kicker there at the bottom?
I got the goggles himself.
Oh, Blankenship?
Yep, Blankenship.
Blankenship. All right, good pick, my friend. Good luck to you. Hopefully you have a better season this year than you did last year.
I can only go up.
There's
Or I remain
nowhere
stagnant.
nowhere to go
yeah.
but up, or you'll suck just as bad.
Yeah,
And
I hope not, but we'll see.
Well, next we're going to bring in a fresh face to the Fantasy Beer League, and Matt Montgomery, the third Matt in the league. All right, Matt. So with your first pick, you went first wide receiver off the board in Devonte Adams. You feel like that consistency that he's had the past few seasons is going to stick with him?
Aaron Rodgers is back.
Yes,
He's ready
he is.
for vengeance this season. He's pissed off with that front office. I'm expecting Devonte Adams to have a bigger season than last season. I think the target share is going to be bigger this year.
Yeah, and then you went with another Packer with your second pick in Aaron Jones. So you loaded up on the Packers early.
I put a lot of trust into them. Nick
Yeah.
Chubb was an afterthought, and it's a very close toss 50-50 matchup, but we're putting some faith in the Aaron Rodgers train this year.
Yeah, I see that. And then I like the next string of picks there. Keenan Allen, Chris Carson. Everybody that listens to this knows I love Chris Carson. I feel like he has tremendous value. He always goes very late. Keenan Allen, always a target monster. I love having him on my team, especially when he's healthy. Adam Thielen, I'm a little nervous about, but for a fifth-round grade, I like that value as your third wide receiver. Miles Sanders in the 6th round. You said you're a little nervous about that one.
I'm very nervous about him.
Yeah.
We're all nervous about Kirk Cousins. I can take the Adam Thielen value because he's still good for 1,200 yards.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders, I'm very nervous about. That's probably going to be the pick we'll look back and regret. But you got to live with an eagle sometimes.
Yeah.
You got to live. You got to let him fly.
I get that. I like Sanders' value this year. I mean, for a 6th-round pick, I understand the nerves, but as a flex play or a third running back, I have no issues with him. And then getting Julio Jones in the 8th round is crazy to think about. But with him still standing there, he went right before Brandon Cooks, Kenny Golladay. That's tremendous value for sure. Jamar Chase is an interesting pick. And then Michael Thomas, I think, is the most interesting pick of the entire draft. So are you banking on him coming back sooner than later, or?
I don't think he plays and does anything for the first 2 to 3 weeks. If he can come back and make a late-round appearance, we're kind of banking on it. As you can see, my team is very injury-prone, starting with Chris Carson and Keenan Allen. Julio Jones as well. Team loves injuries.
Yeah.
So we'll take Michael Thomas. If one of them gets injured, we'll recycle him in when he's healthy. When he finally gets injured, put the other one back in when he's healthy.
Right.
We're like a hospital. We rinse and repeat over here.
I like it. I like the strategy there. Injuries are going to happen anyway, so you might as well at least accept that it's going to be there. The last picks you had in your draft, Antonio Brown, I love that value in the 13th round. You were the last person to take a quarterback, and you took Justin Herbert, which I think is amazing in the 14th round. Excellent value. Let you build up the rest of your injury-prone roster to get to that point. And then
Stack
Jason
the bench.
Sanders, he kicks his ass off, as I've said before. So all in all, very solid draft. Especially picking from the 7 slot. That's, the back end of the first round. Tough to get value. But to get Devonte Adams with your first pick, I think is a great start. I like your odds, man. I think you have a pretty solid squad here. Injuries depending. So
Shout out to Jason Sanders, and also shout out to Tua for being so bad and giving Jason Sanders all these field goal opportunities. So let's hope for number 1 field goals this year and not Harry Butts.
Mad kicks. Last up, my roommate, Fat Cock Velzy. All right, so this is my roommate, Velzy, and he has agreed to run one of our teams. Did you start booing? He has agreed to run our 8th and final team because we had a last-minute dropout for the Fantasy Beer League. So my fate and Senny's fate are in his hands. And with your first pick, you went with Ezekiel Elliott. Why the fuck did you do that?
Because I think that it can't really get much worse than last year. I think with the return of Dak Prescott will help. I think that he knows he fumbled a lot. So I think he's going to be a little bit more careful with the ball. So I think he's due for a bounce-back year, and I have faith in him.
Yeah, at the 8th pick, I really do like it, and especially getting Tyreek Hill in the 2nd round. I had a first-round grade on him, so I like both of those picks. Terry McLaurin, I think, is a fine pick in the 3rd round, especially with Fitzpatrick. I feel like he's going to have a great year. What drew you to David Montgomery in the 4th?
To be honest, it was the workload he had last year. I know that Tariq Cohen was out, so that really elevated it, but I still think he can be a workhorse back. He got a lot of carries, got a lot of yards. So I just think that even with the return of Tariq Cohen, David Montgomery can still be a force and still get the reps to really be an impact on the rushing game.
Time will tell. I'm lower on him this year. Tariq Cohen is still out for the time being, so he can still offer, I guess, a bit more upside. But the PPR volume is really what made him so – excuse me. Fuck, I almost died, Vince. God. Oh, man. The PPR volume when Tariq Cohen was out is really what lifted him up and above last season. So we'll see if he can repeat that. I have my doubts. Then you went with Tyler Lockett, who I think is another up-and-down player. When he's on, but when he's off, he's really off. Mm-hmm. Josh Jacobs is an interesting pick to me. What makes you feel that he will succeed or replicate the success he's had in the past?
I just think that after an up-and-down year, I think that he can maybe focus on the ups. And it's another year under John Gruden, and John Gruden is, supposed to be a guru when it comes to the offensive side. So I just think that Josh Jacobs will kind of do better and be a little bit better. He had a couple great games last year, and I just think there will be more of that to come this year.
This next string of picks is my favorite part of your draft. I love Kyle Pitts in the 7th, Russell Wilson in the 8th. I like the value of Odell Beckham Jr. in the 9th. I mean, we talked about it during the draft. A few years ago, he was a 2nd-round pick every year. Mm-hmm. And he struggled tremendously in his time in Cleveland. But in the 9th round, I mean, that value is undeniable. Even Chase Edmonds in the 10th. I mean, he's a starting running back on a good offense. So I really like that pick. Melvin Gordon, I'm a little nervous about, but, he's your 5th running back on your team. So even if things don't work out with him, that's fine. And then your next couple picks, Antonio Brown and Jalen Waddle, I really like. 2 guys with tremendous upside. Either one could end up being a top 20 wide receiver by the end of the year, and you got them for basically nothing.
Exactly.
I'll let you talk a little bit about Washington because that was the defense you went with, and I know you love them. So
yeah, I mean, as a Washington fan, I see them week to week, and everybody knows about their front with Chase Young. You have Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen. You have a lot of really good players for your defensive line that can help with some sacks. They also made some upgrades behind there. They drafted a linebacker in the 1st round. They got a cornerback in free agency, and Cam Curl had a great breakout rookie year. That paired with the return of Landon Collins is going to be really shoring up their secondary. So I just think that they are due for another really good year defensively, and I could see them really having some good fantasy upside.
We'll see. I hope they suck, but good luck to you because if you do well, that means I do well. So I really hope you never come in last. I truly mean that. You're the only person I actually mean that for.
I appreciate that. So do I.
All right. Thank you for watching this very special episode of the Fantasy Beer League. We'll be with you every Wednesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the YouTubes. Thank you so much for watching. Senny isn't around to give you his advice because this is a weird episode. I'm going to end this now. Bye.